Husband to my wife, Melissa, right here is my bride, and let's give her a round of applause. We're young parents. We've got two boys, Bubba, who just turned 5, and Marshall, who just turned 2, and that's why we're in this race to fight for their future and your children's future and your grandchildren's future. And I'm going to hold Raphael Warnock accountable for the bag of goods that he sold Georgians. And I'm the guy to do it. Folks, I went to the University of Georgia, was having the time of my life. And then 9/11 happened. And obviously that changed all of our lives forever. In my case, I didn't have plans to join the military till then. Decided I wanted to serve as a Navy SEAL officer. Had no idea what the heck I was getting myself into. And I met a retired Navy SEAL captain who I shared my plans with. And he goes, well, send me your resume, I'll let you know what your odds are. And I'm sure y'all can guess where this is going. I sent him my resume, and instead of a pat on the back, he goes, you don't have a blank chance of getting selected, son. He said, I've had Olympic gold medalists, Rhodes Scholars, D1 captains of their athletic teams compete for these spots, and you are not competitive. And y'all, I tell folks that at 22, I was a very confident young man, and that was like having a humble pie just smashed in my face, but it was the best feedback I had ever received. And it led me on a long journey to working to get one of those spots in SEAL training. So went to Georgia Tech for a master's in international affairs, became fluent in Farsi and Dari, the languages they speak in Iran, Afghanistan, parts of Tajikistan. In fact, lived in the region for a full academic year in Tajikistan, backpacked through Afghanistan, did all sorts of crazy stuff before the military. And 6 years after that conversation with that SEAL, finally got selected and became a naval officer, shipped out to Coronado, California, where SEAL training is. And y'all, I turned 29 when I got there. I was the grandpa of my class. I was the oldest officer. Being a Georgia boy, I was not a natural in the water. I broke my foot in what's called Hell Week. I mean, miracle after miracle after miracle led me through. But what's neat is the Navy did a heck of a job of using my background with those languages as a newly minted SEAL. So I immediately deployed to Afghanistan. I led a 25-man element in Iraq in 2015 after ISIS had just about taken over the country. In 2016, President Trump gets elected, and I received orders to come up to his White House to serve as the Director for Intelligence Programs, essentially managing the Black Ops portfolio. So there's a small set of missions that require the President's approval after the Secretary of Defense approves them. And I was that advisor at the White House. After Secretary Mattis approved these missions, they came to my desk and I vet them. And I'd just been out on these very same missions 2 months before getting to the White House. And I'd make the recommendation whether or not President Trump should send the troops out to do the quiet work for the country. And I can tell y'all, every single day we were out there, our adversaries felt American might and strength. They feared us, they respected us, and that's not the case today, and that's got to change. Candidly, serving in the teams was and always will be my dream job, but I transitioned out after 8 years on active duty for pretty unique family reasons. I have a blessing in my family, and my twin brother Ashby, who has Down syndrome, who's just a total stud, and he's my hero, and he lives with my parents. And my dad had some pretty serious health issues when I was in the teams, and it woke me up to the fact that my parents aren't going to be around forever to take care of him. And so my wonderful wife, Melissa, and I decided that he's going to come live with us. And so I knew I needed to prepare for that life transition. So I walked away from the dream job after 8 years. They kept me on board the White House in the Trump administration now as a civilian, as a White House fellow working on domestic policy issues. And I was part of the team that got the First Step Act passed, bipartisan criminal justice reform bill, which was a huge achievement for the Trump administration. In fact, a quick story on that. Y'all, my very first day as a White House fellow, we're in the Roosevelt Room in the West Wing, and the mix of people you had there for this meeting was unbelievable on criminal justice reform. You had Jared Kushner on one end of the table. Believe it or not, you had Van Jones of CNN on the other end of the table. You had a Georgetown law professor who had done 10 years behind bars in his youth for robbing a bank. He's now a Georgetown law professor. A few other folks were there, but across from him you had Kim Kardashian. I remember thinking, where the heck am I? That's the Roosevelt Room in the White House. I mean, go figure. But it was neat to be a part of such a big achievement for the Trump administration. So I was up there the first 2.5 years. We were itching to come back home to Georgia to raise our boys. And I joined the leadership team of Synovus Bank as chief of staff, and life was pretty good. I was making a decent living for my family, home more as a husband, as a father. And then 2020 happens. And it starts becoming hip and cool for our youth to hate the country. The Constitution doesn't seem to matter anymore, same with rule of law. And I started feeling a very similar conviction to the way I felt after 9/11 to do something about it. Didn't know what that something was. Then, of course, we lose this seat to Raphael Warnock, and folks started reaching out to me saying, Latham, you got to jump in this race against Warnock because it's going to require somebody very different like you to beat him. And a number of folks pointed out that our state here in Georgia, y'all, has a proud tradition of having a national security leader in the U.S. Senate. We had Rich, all the way back to Richard B. Russell, Sam Nunn, Johnny Isakson, Saxby Chambliss, and now for the first time since World War II, we don't have a senator on our state, from our state on the Armed Services Committee, which is a huge deal. So we started exploring it, prayed over it, took the plunge in April of last year, jumped into the race. I launched on Fox News, on Brett Baer. Twitter shut down my campaign account before I even finished the interview, so that's a badge of honor. But also a concern. It shows what we're up against as conservatives, but Elon's going to fix it. Don't worry, we're good. We're good. But I'll tell y'all, the response on the trail has been remarkable. We're batting 1,000 everywhere we go across this state. Simply put, the three tenets of my campaign are security, liberty, and prosperity. Security, I'm going to defend this country. Liberty, I'm going to defend the Constitution. And prosperity, I'm going to defend the American economy and the American worker. So first, under security, y'all, I'm a national security guy. I view everything through that lens. Where I was perched at the White House, I got every briefing you can get in the Situation Room on what China's doing to try to knock us off the block. They're hungry and focused and eager to do it, and it's like we're in La La Land in this country. They're on a pathway to beat us, and I refuse to let that happen. Also, we need border security. Every conservative candidate across the country talks about border security, but the question is, how do we do it? And the wall is part of the answer. I received those briefings in the Situation Room too, where the Border Patrol agents shared, Latham, the wall helps funnel folks in certain areas of the southern border so we can focus our resources there. However, there's tunneling that can go underneath our wall. We have technologies right now that can secure our entire southern border. We're not doing it, and we've got to stop talking about it. The time is now for action, now that we have a terrorist war in Afghanistan, we have fentanyl coming over the border, killing our youth more than anything else. So we've got to secure our border. Y'all, across this state, I remind people, the official number of undocumented folks in this country right now is 11 million people. The real number is actually higher than that. But just using the lowball official number, 11 million. That's the exact population of our state here in Georgia. We're just under 11 million. That's how many folks we have in this country. We have no idea who they are, where they came from, or what they're doing. We got to get them out of here, and we got to secure our border. Thank you. We obviously need election security. I mean, the simple answer to that is we need transparency. We need a paper ballot. We did it for a couple hundred years. We can do it again. It's not that hard. So that's security. Next, we have liberty. It probably won't surprise y'all. As a Navy SEAL, I am a gun guy. I own a lot of guns. I shoot a lot of guns. It's our constitutional right to do so, right? And y'all, I've had my own constitutional right stripped of me in California as an active duty Navy SEAL. I couldn't bring my pistol with a 15-round mag in it or my AR-15 lower receiver. How does that make sense? It's crazy. It's crazy. But also under liberty, who would have thought that we would have to defend our First Amendment right of free speech in this nation? And y'all, I speak to conservatives mostly on the trail, but I even hear from moderates now that share Latham. I don't feel comfortable expressing my real views in this nation anymore because I'm worried the woke mob is going to come after me, my family, or my business and dox me. I didn't even know what the heck doxing was till last year, where they post your personal information online so that the woke mob can come and harass you, your family, or your employees. I share with folks, y'all, that those of us that fought for this country, we didn't do that to come back to a woke America where any American, I don't care where you are politically, no American should have a fear of expressing their First Amendment right of free speech in this nation. We need leaders with a backbone to stand up to it in Washington, and I'm a proven fighter that will. Also under liberty, probably won't surprise you, as someone who shared the womb with someone with Down syndrome, I am a proud defender of life and always will be. I'm not ashamed of that. Parents should get to choose where their kids go to school and what they're taught. These vaccine mandates are madness. We've got to fight against this stuff, y'all. And so that's liberty. And then finally, prosperity. Y'all, I meet with small business owners every day, and they're still sharing with me, Latham, I can't find workers. I can't compete with a government paycheck. And I share with folks that one of the frustrations about being a conservative is our policies are right and just and best for all. However, we are awful at messaging. We're terrible at messaging. And the left policies are destructive and terrible, but they're all creative with messaging. And they outflank us, take the high road, and beat us. And I'm going to end that with my campaign. And our message on this very issue needs to be dignity, not dependency. What I mean by that is, as conservatives, we seek a limited government that creates economic opportunity for the American worker and therefore provides them dignity through that work. And we're seeing the opposite of that today, out of this moral hazard dependency that's been established by our government. Now, y'all, this is real personal for me. I mentioned my brother Ashby. He works at a grocery store. We pulled him from work when COVID first hit because we didn't know what this virus was or what it would do to someone with Down syndrome. And after a handful of months in consultation with his doctor, we noticed something was different about him when he wasn't working. And we made the joint decision to send him back to work. We didn't check a box for unemployment for Ashby because we see the dignity that he receives every day from having that job. And to think that that's being stripped away from thousands of Americans because of these policies out of Washington, it's crazy and it's got to stop. So y'all, that's what I'm about. Security, liberty, and prosperity. Thank you. And the final thing I'll address real quick is the elephant in the room as I'm up against my childhood football hero, Herschel Walker. I love Herschel just as much as any Bulldog, but y'all, these are incredibly serious times for our country. Celebrities are not going to bail us out of this mess. We've got to do the work ourselves, and it's going to require leaders that show up. And y'all, we had 5 straight debates in a row, and they had an empty podium for Herschel Walker at every single one of them. What does that mean about his commitment? And that is not going to work against Raphael Warnock. We saw his silver tongue. He is a great, for all his flaws, one of them is not debating. He's a great speaker, and he knows how to debate. And someone needs to get on that debate stage and hold him accountable for that bag of goods that he sold us. We have a terrorist war in Afghanistan. We have an open southern border. We have inflation that's through the roof. Melissa and I are still buying diapers for our youngest. The price of diapers has skyrocketed. All because of their policies. And who does that hurt the most? Lower and middle income Americans. The same people Warnock claims he cares about. So y'all, if you put me up there and make me your nominee, I promise you I will knock Raphael Warnock out of that seat. Again, with Herschel. Herschel brags about his Mitch McConnell endorsement everywhere he goes. Gets coached by him once a week on policy. Is that what we really want in our Republican nominee on top of this ballot? No way. I will get up there and I'll knock him out of that seat. I'm the only America First candidate in this race that was up there fighting in that Trump White House for him. And I will fight for you again. So, thank you. So, y'all sent me once. Y'all sent me once to fight for you in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm asking you to send me again to the next battleground in Washington, D.C., so that we can win this country back. I know a lot of you have already voted. Those of you who raised your hands, I've met a few folks over the past couple weeks that said, gosh, I voted for Herschel, I didn't know about you. If you fall in that camp, please find 3 friends or family who have not voted yet and encourage them to vote, and we will get up there and we will win this country back. God bless y'all, God bless our great state, and God bless America. Thank y'all so much.
Oh, that's right. You got a party tonight. Yes.
Okay. And then I got a radio interview.